So what we didn't know, we didn't learn for 27 years was the night of the murder, there was a call made to the tip line, the anonymous Philadelphia police tip line, specifically identifying the woman, the woman who had rented one of these other. I mean, this was before the news of the murder had been reported. Mm-hmm. That night, while they're still taking statements, a call comes into the tip line identifying this other woman as having been involved with the crime with very specific details. That statement was buried in the detective's file and was never turned over for 27 years. That was the kind of statement that would have, I'm almost certain, exonerated him at trial. Because, there is no way for anyone to have known about this unless they had very specific knowledge of the crime and the person involved. They could not have called this tip in.
When you say it's buried, are you saying that the detectives knew,
correct,
or the district attorney handling the case knew?
The detectives knew. It was not in the district attorney's file. It was in the detective's file. They had this statement and never turned it over to the prosecutor. I mean, I can't say for sure they didn't know. The prosecutor didn't know, it wasn't told, but it wasn't in the prosecutor's file. It was in the detective's file. So my assumption is the detectives who knew they had coerced a statement, okay, and phonied up a statement, now come into evidence that it was someone totally different. And how are they going to explain this? How are they going to explain there's a tip identifying the person who actually rented the car that was used in the crime? How are they going to explain that someone in a different car who had nothing to do with the case gave a detailed, 6-page single-space statement with every detail the cops had about the crime in it? Mm-hmm. They couldn't. And the only explanation they would have to come up with was we had her sign a statement that she, never made. And they were, and at that point, they're not going to do that. They're going to protect themselves. So they hide the evidence of the actual perpetrator.
Why do they keep the hidden evidence?
That's a good question. I don't know, because I wouldn't have. If I was trying to hide my wrongdoing, I'd have just thrown that in the trash.
Right,
I don't know why they kept it.
I don't know.
I'll tell you, they kept it because I think, at the time, those files were not available to anybody. I mean, the defense never had a right to them. They were never being ordered to be turned over. No one was asking for them. They kept these files to themselves, and I'm not sure why they did. That's a good question. It's a very good question.